I made a movie and I made another one like before. I get money like I never got this money before. I need to check myself into a rehab, but no. And I don't trust these bitches. I made a movie and I made another one like before. I get money like I
Let's be honest, this game is old, but even so, there are always new players. This guide is for new players, or maybe just people who struggle in dungeons and get kicked from Party Finder groups all the time. Also, I will not be going over F7 today, but there are tips at the end that may help you if you are in F7. Alright, F1 and F3. This could probably be done with any gear in the game. It should be really easy. If you struggle with these floors, focusing on other skills within Skyblock will be beneficial, as the next floors do require you to do so. So I will not be going over F1 and F3. They are just kind of basic floors. You know, you guys should be able to get through that. F4. Floor 4 is, in my opinion, harder than F5 or F6. Simply put, because most Party Finder teammates will miss their bow shots. But it can be done in simple gear. Strong, superior, and maybe young dragon armor should be more than enough to do this floor. If you are struggling with survivability, Wand of Restoration or Atonement, and a Florid Zombie Sword should be more than enough to keep you alive. You can get a Wand of Atonement by reaching Zombie Slayer 7 and a Wand of Restoration I think by Zombie Slayer 6, but correct me if I'm wrong. More than likely you're going to need these later on in any kind of Slayer that you do, so you might as well go ahead and get the grind over with. Okay, so the mechanics of this floor are pretty simple. A bunch of mobs will spawn and start chasing you around. Really only need to avoid the chickens that spawn above you, as they do a bunch of damage compared to everything else. A Spirit Bear will spawn. Simply kill him and pick up the bow that drops. Fire the bow at the gas, zooming around the map a couple times, and you will die. Be careful though, because he does speed up and start strafing like crazy after a few shots. Also, if you are getting carried, on the top row, run around continuously because the bats will chase you. And those things do incredible damage and they will pretty much instantly kill you. Floor 5 is way simpler than F4. Once you get a completion on this floor, which you might need to carry, you can buy a Shadow Assassin armor, which is then the next step. Buy this armor, 5-star if you can, and then you should be set. Wand of Restoration will probably do the trick, but Atonement will definitely help. Florid Zombie Sword for sure. For damage, I would recommend a Shadow Fury or Livid Dagger if you can't afford the Shadow Fury. A Baby Yeti pet or whale pet, blue whale pet, can be used if you still struggle with surviving. The mechanics of this floor are very simple. A couple Livids will spawn, but only one of them is the real one. There are mods you can use to see which one is the actual Livid. I will put all my mods in the description for y'all. Just simply kill the right Livid and the floor is complete. Alright, floor 6. This is where stuff starts getting a little complicated. Floor 6 is very simple, but this is where a lot of people get stuck. Since you are a low cattle level, this is where Party Finder starts to get a little tricky. More than likely, you will need a tank. The terracottas in this phase do tremendous amount of damage, so Shadow Assassin gear might not work. If it doesn't, I recommend running F5 until you reach cattle level 24, and then buying a carry through F7. In my opinion, it's the fastest way to get around the BS of getting your gear ready for F6. After getting the carry, buy armor accordingly. If you plan to burst/arch, buy Necron armor. If you plan to tank, buy Golder. Mage, Storm. Healer isn't really needed until F7. Weapons that you should be using also depend on how much money you have left. If you have a good chunk of money, buy a Juju. If you don't have it unlocked, I highly recommend doing so because it will be the cheapest weapon for F7. If you have a Shadow Fury, that can also work, but you'll be limiting yourself to burrs. If you are an Iron Man, I feel bad for you because the grind is going to be tedious. I just plainly recommend getting carried by somebody you find in Party Finder or multiple discords like Skyblock Z. I will leave the Discord link to Skyblock Z in my description. This is where you can find a bunch of people for carries or multiple different things. I don't know. Not sponsored.
I'm gonna go tag.
Oh, time's too powder. Let's go.
Hey, can somebody carry me through F6?
Yeah,
Sure,
I got you, bro.
we can free carry you. I don't care.
What is that?
Thank you, man. Actually, much appreciated.
Shut up, God.
Alright, on to the mechanics. The mechanics of F6 are not hard to understand. The room has 6 iron golems and a bunch of terracottas. Do not shoot the golems. It will make the terracottas take longer to spawn, and more than likely people in your party will leave. When the terracottas are attacking you, try to stay near the tank so that you can take reduced damage. You can use your healing wad and Florid Zombie Sword when needed, and try to deal some damage as burrs or arch so you can heal off of your class perks. A Baby Yeti pet or blue whale pet are very good for reducing the amount of damage you take. If you can afford the ultimate enchant Swarm, I highly recommend it, because it will do increased damage based off how many enemies are nearby. F7 is definitely way more complicated, so I'm not going to go over it in this video. but I will make a separate video for it if you guys want. Just leave a comment and I will make a video for it. Here are some tips that I highly recommend you go over. Tip 1. Clearing and doing secrets are two different things. Clearing is killing all the mobs within a room that are on the same level as the entrance. Some mods will highlight which mobs to kill. There are different rooms with different mobs to kill. Some will require you to kill a mini boss, and some will require you to kill a bunch of adds. If you use the mods I'm using in the description, it will highlight which mobs you need to kill with a blue hitbox. If you go into a room and see the adds do not have a blue hitbox, there's likely a mini boss in that room. Sometimes it will be a shadow assassin, which will be invisible. You can find them walking around with a sword and some particles. You can hit them while they're invisible, by the way. When you see a white check mark on the map, that means the room is cleared, but the secrets aren't done. If you see a green check mark, that means the room is cleared and the secrets are done. That was a mouth clutter. Anyways, tip number 2, always clear before secrets. If you see a room nearby that is not clear, clear it. Do not do secrets before clearing because it can be very frustrating for other teammates and will take longer to get S and S+. Sometimes it is acceptable, like if you see a teammate that's close to an unclear room, you can go ahead and start doing secrets because it just take longer for you to get there and then y'all be stacking. But most of the time you want to make sure you clear rooms nearby before doing secrets. Tip number 3. Some puzzle rooms do not require you to get the chest to complete it. You can tell by finishing the puzzle and seeing if there's a green check mark for the room before you get the chest. Some examples for rooms that do not require you to get the chest at the end are tic-tac-toe and higher or lower. Rooms that may require you to are ice fill and waterboard. Tip number 4. You can filter which dungeon and class level to show you in the party finder. This will allow you to see only parties that match your needs. Tip number 5, dungeon pots. It could be pretty simple, but most people forget to buy them. You can buy the best dungeon pot you can use from Ophelia, the chick to the right of the dungeon keeper. Once you get F6 or F7, you can buy dungeon 7 pots, which are the best that you can use. Make sure you pop them inside the dungeon. Some people, for some reason, pop them before they get into the dungeon. They don't work if you do that. Tip 6, buy an aspect of the void or an aspect of the end. If you can't, these will greatly speed up how fast you can do dungeons. If you can't afford it, buy an aspect of a void with an ether warp. God, that's a mouthful. It can help a lot with doing secrets. Tip 7, use spirit leaps. With the mods I have, these will show you who you can leap to and what class they are, as well as their skin. These can greatly speed up how fast you do dungeons. Tip number 8, do not re-roll chest with Kismet feathers. These are not profitable until you get into master mode. Tip number 9, do slayers. These will help you a lot in dungeons. Some Slayer level ups will give you an increase in stats or maybe allow you to use new gear. Tip number 10, the bat secret is very buggy. Some positions in rooms where bats spawn can cause it to simply just not spawn. In that case, hypixel automatically kills the bat for you and gives you the secret. So next time you go to kill a bat, make sure you look at the secret beforehand so that you're not just wandering around looking for a bat that isn't real. After time, these wind up just being in common spots, so you'll probably just remember that a bat doesn't spawn there. Tip number 11, buy a spirit pet. At the time of recording, these things are around 5 million for a level 1. That's all you need. Instead of subtracting 2 score when you die, it will only subtract 1, but it only works for the first death of the entire run, including teammates. So if your Juju non-archer dies with no spirit pet first, and then you die, that would be a total of -4 score. The thing that makes this pet worth it is the fact that it does not need to be equipped. You can keep this bad boy in your pet stash while using a different pet, and you will still get the reduced death score effect. Tip number 12, splits. Splits can be a little daunting to somebody who doesn't understand what it means. Basically, a split is a path or route you take in a dungeon. Alright, I'm gonna just show you what I'm talking about. All you really do not want to do is stay in the same room as somebody, okay? Unless it's the beginning of the round, which, 5 people will be here, okay, for sure, because we're just coming out here, so 5 people in here. You don't really all want to stay in the same room. You want to make sure you spread out, because if you spread out and conquer, you can get it all done pretty quick. So, one person goes here, they do trap, okay? So this guy gets done with trap, Blood Rush goes through, he goes through all these, you don't really want to stack with somebody if they're doing their own split. One person goes here, one person goes here, they all do their own rooms, okay? So after we completed all these rooms, wait, I forgot that room, but, after we complete all these rooms, then we can move on to different rooms. This guy comes out, he goes and does this room. So you do not want to stack with this guy because he's doing these rooms, and then once you finish, trap or mini boss or whatever, then you can come and help this guy finish these rooms. So pretty much stacking is just the best way, or not stacking, splitting is just the best way of discovering the whole dungeon to figure out where people need to get to, where people need to discover rooms or complete rooms. And why I say earlier is that you don't want to do secrets before you clear is because when you do secrets, like for instance, if you walk into this room right here, this guy that walked into this room earlier, while everybody else is doing these rooms, let me delete these actually, because this guy that walked into this room originally, if he starts doing the secrets in this big old room right here, which is probably gonna be like, if he's lucky, that 10 secret room, all of these guys don't know where they need to go. Like they know they need to go into here, but they don't know that this room goes all the way down into another puzzle. They don't know that this room goes into its own puzzle as well. So this guy just slowed down the whole run because he's doing secrets first when he could have just cleared and then immediately went on to the next room and then clear and go on to the next room, clear and then whatever, go on to the next room. So pretty much you always want to clear and do splits and do not stack. It's that simple. You'll get the hang of it after a while. I'm sure you'll mess it up a few times, but I believe it. Tip number 13. Use mods to check players' dungeon stats. Skytils and NEU are really good mods for these and will allow you to check all of their stats, such as completions per floor, fastest S+ time for a floor, and total secrets found. These can be very useful if you're trying to find similar teammates to your stats. It can also be the reason you're getting kicked, as many party times require you to have a minimum of 8 to 9 average secrets per run. Tip number 14, Power Stones. They could be a little daunting at first, but it's pretty simple. I'm not going to go too far in depth on how magic power works, but you want around 600 or more magic power to get into dungeons pretty well. I would say that's a minimum for F7, but some people can get away with a little bit less. The Power Stones I would recommend would be Shaded, Itchy, or Strong, depending on what your current stats are. You want your strength and crit damage to be as close as to each other as possible. You could tune these slightly at the thermologist spawn so that you can get them as close as possible. Anyways, last but not least, tip number 15, speed. It's very easy to overlook this factor, but it can be very crucial. It can dramatically cut down the time spent clearing when you have a lot of speed. Sometimes too much can cause you to mess up, so try to find a comfortable number and stick to it. These are some of the basics to dungeons, and if you think I missed any, please leave a comment down below to help each other out. But please remember that above all else, this stuff you might not get off the bat. What I'm trying to say is that you shouldn't be too hard on yourself. Everyone makes mistakes and no one is perfect. Even the cat of 50 sweats with 2 terms will make a mistake every once in a while. Dungeons is one of the more enjoyable sides of TikTok, what the fuck, Skyblock. So take your time and enjoy it. Try not to rush it. Anyways, thank you for watching. If you have any questions, my Discord is in the description. Deuces.